Hi and welcome to this Blueprint Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at pound yen, and we're going to be looking for opportunities with surrounding this currency strength meter. And will the yen start to strengthen or will it remain weak? So why am I looking at this in the first place? Well, I've got up the currency strength meter here. I'm trying to identify where the market could be focusing some attention this week, and we can see that the pound topped out here at the +7 and then dropped all the way to the downside. So pound is looking like it's weakening on the bigger picture. So could we look at the pound for potential opportunities to the downside? So when I see a currency like that, I want to look at the opposite end of the scale. Where is something getting stronger or is something getting weaker? Now, the yen's a tricky one to discuss because obviously there is a lot of fundamentals surrounding the yen, but you can see here that the yen did bottom out at the -5 area and is starting to push to the upside, very similar to the Swiss franc as well as the Australian dollar. So we are starting to see those type of currencies push a little bit higher. But I'm interested in pound yen, a major forex pair. So we want to be able to have a little look at that market and be able to see what could potentially happening on that currency pair. So what I'm going to do is go take a look at pound yen. We've identified that there's a potential for this market to continue to the downside, but we also then have to give it a technical outlook, because if the market doesn't push to the downside, then it's not going to be something that we're relatively interested in this week. Now, if I look at it from this monthly time frame, I can see that we're pretty much moving to the upside here on the sort of shorter term. If we look at it from the overall bigger picture, the market is technically pushing to the downside here. However, if I zoom right into what's happened over the past couple of years, price has pretty much moved to the upside. Now, last month we had a really strong bullish close, so that would suggest that actually the market could be more likely to push higher again, especially because we've got the 173 sitting slightly above. Now, the only thing that puts doubt into my mind here is when I zoom into the weekly chart. Now, what we had was price pretty much was in this trading range here, and we broke out of that trading range, but we've then came straight back within it. Okay, now usually that's not a very positive sign for a market. That can be the fact that price can then trade back within the range. So even though the higher time frame is still looking a bit more on a bullish side of things, as we dive in, it's actually giving us more of a picture that price may start to push a little bit lower. But we know our levels. 173 is going to be a key resistance level. So if we were to see price shoot up into the 173 this week, we could see some sellers. We are trading currently at the 167.50, which is a level of resistance here, which is something that I like the idea of price acting as resistance on. If I go to the daily time frame, now this is where I start to look and go, okay, well, what's actually happening? Because Friday we had a really significant close. So we had a 358 pip move, which isn't the biggest on pound yen, but is still fairly noticeable. And we had that distinctive close back into this key area of resistance. Sorry, I should say that was Thursday's close. Friday's close was a little bit of a bullish move, but we had a significant selling pretty much all of last week apart from Friday. So if that momentum was going to continue, could it continue around this area that we are at? Absolutely. Now, 167.50 is just a level I've pointed out, but the zone can stretch a lot higher. We can actually come all the way up into the 168.75. So there is a decent zone for price to work with. Now, if I was looking at this from a swing trading point of view, I probably would be looking to see how price reacts in and around this sort of 168.75. I think if price gave me a sort of low ranging candlestick here, that would give me a potential signal that the buyers are losing, or the buyers momentum is starting to fade, and that we could start to look for that downside move. Now, what I like to do around big key levels is actually go a lot lower. So you can see 4 hour, I've got a little zone marked out. I even like to go a little bit lower than that, because what I like to look for is changes of trend. And you can see here that the market is in an upward trend. The reason why I know that is because we consolidated, prices made higher highs, higher lows, and now we're looking to make a new low here. Okay, so I don't want to see that if I'm looking to go short. I want to see price making lower highs, okay, and lower lows. So what I want to see is price push maybe a little bit higher, maybe even to that 168.75, and then I want to see price make a new lower low. So very much like what happened over here. I want to see price come in, push back up. This is where people are probably loading up on those buys again, thinking that the trend is going to continue back to the highs. Instead, price flushes those stop orders, takes those lows. That's when I'm interested in starting to get on a move to the downside. That's what I'm looking for here. Pretty much the exact same setup. Can price rally into an area of importance, change trend, give us the opportunity to trade back to the downside? Now, the beauty of waiting for that kind of setup is the fact that we're not going to jump into the market too soon. Okay, I'm not going to start getting short right at the very top thinking that that is the top. Okay, I'm not going to get short right here because price could still extend to important levels of resistance like the 168.75. So I'm not going to jump in short here. I'm going to wait for price to come to me and give me the opportunity that I'm looking for. I'm looking for price to start changing trend around here. Now, if it does, we could look for price to come back down to this key level, which is the 165.50. If price trades through that, then we've got open space to come all the way back down to this area here, which is the 160.50 handle. So something to consider there for pound yen. If, however, price does continue to push to the upside, 172 handle is probably going to be the likely target here, because we have seen pound start to strengthen throughout today. So if that momentum does continue, then we could see higher prices as well. But strength meters suggesting that we could see a move to the downside. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on at these key levels of resistance. Hopefully that made sense. If it did, leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more of our Forex trading content, and I'll catch you in the next video.